Hey, welcome back to True Gay Chronicles. I hope you're having an amazing day. If you're new here, please hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you. I told my straight best friend I'm gay at my 18th birthday party. What he did that night shocked everyone. I didn't plan anything big for my birthday, just something small at home. Kept it simple, less noise, less attention, less chance of anyone noticing the things I was trying to keep to myself. Rick showed up first. He never knocked like everyone else. Just pushed the door open like he'd lived there for years and called my name before I even saw him. That was normal for him. Somehow he always acted like he belonged wherever I was. "Happy birthday," he said, tossing something small onto the table. I picked it up. Nothing expensive, but it hit me harder than I expected. Something I'd mentioned once, weeks ago, in passing. I didn't even remember saying it out loud. "You actually remembered this?" He shrugged like it was nothing. "You talk a lot." I laughed, but didn't look at him right away. If I did, I knew I'd read too much into it. The others showed up not long after, filling the place with voices and music, the kind of energy that makes everything feel lighter than it is. At some point, someone joked that Rick seemed to know everything about me. "Of course he does," one of them said. "He's basically your boyfriend already." Rick didn't react much, just leaned back in his chair, relaxed like the comment didn't land at all. But for a second, just a second, I felt his hand rest lightly on the back of my neck as he passed behind me. Casual. Easy. Except it wasn't. I kept smiling, kept talking, kept pretending everything felt the same. But somewhere in the back of my mind, one thought wouldn't leave. If he ever found out, nothing between us would stay like this. Started the way it always does. Someone grabbed a bottle. Someone turned the music down just enough. And before long, we were sitting in a loose circle on the floor, laughing over nothing. Truth or dare wasn't planned, but with only 5 of us, it was the easiest way to keep the night going. At first it stayed harmless. Dares about texting exes, truths about embarrassing moments, the kind of things you answer without thinking twice. Rick was in his usual mood, relaxed, confident, calling out dares like he was directing the whole thing. Every time the bottle landed on him, he handled it easily, like nothing could rattle him. I tried to match that, laughed on cue, played along, kept my voice steady. But underneath, that quiet tension sat in my chest, waiting for the wrong question. It didn't take long. The bottle spun again, slower this time, like it was deciding something. It landed on me. Someone leaned forward, grinning. "All right, birthday boy." "Truth." I nodded, trying to sound casual. "Go ahead." A pause, just long enough to feel intentional. "What's your biggest secret?" For a second I thought about dodging it, a joke, a dare instead. But it was my birthday, and something in me was tired of hiding. I didn't look at anyone, not even Rick. "I'm gay." The words came out quieter than I expected, but clear enough that no one had to ask me to repeat them. The room went still, not dramatically. No one gasped. Just a silence that sat there a few seconds too long. Someone nodded slowly. Someone else gave a soft okay. One person looked surprised but said nothing. I could feel all of it without looking. But Rick didn't say a word. I finally glanced up, and he was already watching me. Not shocked, not confused, just watching like he was working something out. Then he leaned back slightly and let out a small breath, almost a quiet laugh. "All right," he said. Light tone, but something underneath it felt different. "Then prove it." A couple of people laughed, thinking he was joking. I tried to smile it off. "What?" He tilted his head, eyes still locked on mine. "I mean it. Kiss someone right now." The laughter faded. It didn't feel like a joke anymore. No one spoke. No one moved. And somehow, even with 4 other people in the room, it felt like it was just the 2 of us. Rick didn't glance around, didn't suggest anyone else. He just stayed there, eyes on mine, waiting. The room felt smaller, like the air had shifted, heavier than before. I could still hear the music, but it didn't matter anymore. All I could focus on was him. He wasn't smiling now. His expression had settled into something quieter, harder to read, like he'd already made a decision and was just waiting to see what I'd do with it. My heart was going too fast. I could feel it in my throat, in my hands, in the way I couldn't breathe normally. I could have laughed it off, said no, taken a different dare, kissed someone else just to end it. I didn't move. Neither did he. The moment stretched out long enough that everyone else started shifting, unsure if this was still part of the game. Then Rick stood up. Not rushed, that's the part one remember most. He didn't make a scene of it. He just got to his feet and stepped closer. Slow enough that I had time to react, time to stop him. I didn't. He stopped right in front of me, close enough that I could feel the warmth coming off him, close enough that leaning forward even a little would already be too much. For a split second he hesitated, like he was giving me one last chance to pull away. I didn't take it. His hand came up, not forceful, just steady, and rested against the side of my face. Not something you do for a joke. Not something you do without thinking. Then he kissed me. It wasn't long, but it wasn't nothing either. There was real weight to it, the kind that makes you aware of every second it lasts. My mind went blank, like everything else had been pushed out of the way. I didn't even realize I'd leaned into it until it was already over. When he pulled back, it was quick, but not careless. For a second we were still close, too close, and in that space I saw it. Something in his eyes that didn't match what had just happened. Not regret exactly, just something unsettled. Then it was gone. Rick stepped back, the moment snapping like it had never been real. Relax, he said, a small laugh slipping into his voice again. It's just a dare. The room came back all at once. Someone shouted, someone laughed too loud. The tension broke into noise and jokes that didn't match what I was still feeling. I stayed where I was, because I wasn't thinking about the kiss itself. I was thinking about the second before it ended. The way he didn't pull away immediately. The way he hesitated, like he almost didn't want to stop. After that, everything kept moving like nothing had happened. Someone joked about it. Someone else tried to recreate the moment, exaggerated, just to keep the mood light. The game picked back up, the bottle spinning, voices overlapping. Rick played along, that was the strange part. He leaned into it like he always did, cracking comments, laughing when someone brought the kiss up again. If you didn't know better, you'd think it hadn't meant anything. But I could tell. Not because of what he did, because of what he didn't. He didn't look at me. Not once. Even when the conversation circled back, even when someone joked about us directly, his focus stayed somewhere else. The wall, the bottle, anyone but me. At one point he got up for a drink and passed behind me again. Usually he'd tap my shoulder or mutter something under his breath. Just for me. This time, nothing. No touch, no pause, no acknowledgement. Subtle enough that no one else would notice. But I did. I felt it more than anything else that night. I tried to act normal too. Answered when people talked to me, laughed on cue, stayed in the game longer than I wanted to. But everything felt slightly off, like I was a beat behind everyone else. Still stuck in that moment while the room had already moved on. After a while, Rick checked his phone and stood up. Got something tomorrow, he said, casual, like it was nothing. Someone groaned, told him to stay. He just shook his head. Next time. He grabbed his things, said quick goodbyes to everyone else, and left. No glance my way. No see you. Nothing. The door closed, and the room filled back up with noise, but it didn't feel the same to me anymore. Later that night, after everyone had gone and the apartment finally went quiet, I sat there alone, replaying it. Not the kiss, not even the dare. Just that moment right before he pulled away. That hesitation. Because no matter how much he acted like it hadn't mattered, that part didn't feel like a joke. The next few days felt off. Nothing dramatic, no big fight. Just small changes that didn't make sense alone, but together were impossible to ignore. Rick still showed up at school, still talked to everyone else the same way, still laughed, still joked, still acted like himself. Just not with me. Our conversations shrank into short replies. No extra comments. No random late-night messages like before. If I didn't text first, we didn't talk at all. And even when we were in the same room, something sat between us that neither of us wanted to touch. I told myself it was fine, that maybe I was overthinking it, that to him it really had just been a dare. So I tried to move on. There was a guy from another class who'd been talking to me for a while. Nothing serious, just easy conversation, a few jokes, the kind of attention that felt safe because it came with no history. When he asked if I wanted to hang out after school, I said yes. It seemed like the right thing to do. We met outside the school gates and talked about nothing important. Easy, light, no tension. For a moment I thought maybe that was enough. Then I saw Rick. He wasn't supposed to be there. He usually left earlier, took a different route home. But he was standing across the street like he'd been there a while, watching. Our eyes met for half a second. Then he looked away. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Until that evening. My phone buzzed. Rick. Just his name at the top of the screen made something tighten in my chest. I opened it. You move on fast. No context, no explanation. I stared at it for a long second before replying. You said it didn't mean anything. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Yeah. Didn't. I read it twice, because something about it didn't match. Not the words, the feeling underneath them. Before I could respond, another message came through. Do whatever you want. That one hit differently. Cold, final, like he was trying to shut the conversation down before it could go anywhere else. I didn't reply. Not right away. But that night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About the way he'd shown up out of nowhere. About the way he'd watched. About the way his words didn't match the look on his face. And for the first time since that night, I stopped wondering if I'd imagined it. Because if it really meant nothing to him, why did it feel like he was the one trying hardest to pretend it didn't? I didn't plan to confront him. I told myself I'd wait, give him the space he clearly wanted. But after that message, something shifted. It wasn't confusion anymore. It was frustration. If it meant nothing, why did it feel like I was the only one being pushed away? I found him after school a couple of days later, alone for once, leaning against the wall near the back of the building, scrolling through his phone like he had nowhere else to be. The same spot we used to hang out all the time. For a second I almost turned around, but he looked up, and it was too late to walk away. Hey, he said, like everything was normal. That's what got to me. How long are you gonna act like this? I asked. He frowned slightly. Act like what? Like nothing happened. He let out a short breath, pushing off the wall. Because nothing did. The answer came too fast. Like he'd already decided that was the only version of the story he'd stick to. I stepped closer. Not aggressively, just enough that he couldn't brush it off and walk away. Then why are you avoiding me? I'm not. You are. He looked away for a second, jaw tightening. Like he didn't want this conversation but couldn't find a way out of it. You're overthinking it, he said. It was a joke. A dare. That's it. The same words, the same tone. But this time I didn't let it go. Then why'd you kiss me like that? That made him pause, not long. But enough. His eyes flicked back to mine. Something unsettled breaking through for a second before he shut it down again. It wasn't anything. Don't do that, I said quietly. Don't act like I imagined it. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply, like this was getting more complicated than he wanted. I didn't think you'd take it seriously, he said. That hit harder than I expected. Seriously? I stopped myself, because suddenly it wasn't just about the kiss anymore. It was about everything after. You're the one who hasn't been acting normal, I said instead. You barely talk to me. You show up out of nowhere and then pretend it doesn't matter. I said it doesn't, but it does. The words came out before I could stop them. This time he didn't interrupt, didn't deny it right away. He just stood there, looking at me like he was deciding how much he was willing to say. For a moment it felt like he might walk away again, leave me with nothing. Then his voice dropped, quieter than before. I didn't think you'd actually feel something. Everything went still. Not around us, just between us. Because that wasn't what I'd expected him to say. Not denial, not distance. Something a lot closer to the truth than he'd ever been willing to admit. Neither of us said anything for a moment. His words sat there, heavier than anything he'd said before. Not defensive, not dismissive, just real in a way I wasn't used to hearing from him. What does that even mean? I asked. He looked away, jaw tightening, like he already regretted saying it out loud. I don't know, he said. That's the problem. It didn't sound like an excuse. It sounded like the truth. I stepped a little closer, not to push him, but because if I didn't, it felt like he'd pull back again. Then stop pretending you do, I said quietly. He let out a breath, shaking his head once, like he was trying to clear something he couldn't get rid of. I didn't plan that, he admitted. The kiss. I wasn't thinking. I didn't interrupt because for once he wasn't trying to win the argument. I just did it, he went on. And I thought that'd be it. Everyone would laugh and it'd stay like that. He paused, eyes dropping before coming back to me. But it didn't. Something in his expression shifted. Less guarded, more frustrated with himself than anything. I kept thinking about it, he said, quieter now. The next day, even now, my chest tightened. Not because of what he said, because of how easily I believed it. That's why you've been avoiding me, I said. He gave a small nod. No excuses, no deflection. Just that. I didn't know what to do with it, he added. Didn't know what it meant. I hesitated before asking, do you regret it? That made him go still. Not uncomfortable, just still. I don't know, he said after a moment. It wasn't the answer I expected. But it wasn't a lie either. I'm not gay, he added quickly, like he needed to say it out loud just to ground himself. I don't think like that. I didn't argue, because this wasn't about labels. Then why does it matter? I asked instead. That landed somewhere. I could see it in the way his expression tightened, the way he looked away again, like he was avoiding an answer already forming in his own head. I don't know, he repeated, more frustrated this time. He ran a hand through his hair, paced once, stopped again in front of me. I just know that seeing you with someone else, he started, then stopped himself. I waited because this part mattered. Pissed me off, he finished. There it was. Not clean, not pretty, not something he fully understood, but real. I held his gaze, trying to read what he wasn't saying. You don't get to be mad about that, I said. Not harsh, just honest. Not if you keep acting like it meant nothing. I know, he said immediately. That surprised me. I know, he repeated, quieter now. That's why I didn't say anything. For a second, everything settled. No arguing, no denial, just the truth sitting there, unfinished. Neither of us knew what to do with it. We were standing closer now without realizing it. Not touching, but not distant anymore either. And for the first time since that night, it didn't feel like he was running. After that conversation, things didn't go back to normal. But they didn't stay broken either. It landed somewhere in between. Rick stopped avoiding me, that was the first change. He started showing up again, walking with me after class, sitting next to me like before. On the surface it looked the same, but it wasn't. Everything felt more aware now, like every small thing carried weight. The way his shoulder brushed mine when we walked, the way he leaned in a little too close when he said something quietly, like it was only meant for me. The way our conversations lasted longer than they needed to, drifting into silences neither of us rushed to fill. We didn't talk about the kiss again, not directly, but it was there, sitting underneath everything. One afternoon we ended up alone behind the building again. The sun was lower, the air quieter than usual, like the day was already winding down. Rick leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching me the same way he had that night, like he was trying to figure something out. You're different lately, he said. I gave a small shrug. So are you. He let out a quiet breath, like he didn't disagree. Neither of us spoke for a moment. Then he stepped a little closer. Not enough to make it obvious, just enough that I noticed. My heart started picking up again, the same way it had that night. You ever think about it? He asked. I knew what he meant. Yeah, I said. I didn't try to hide it. He nodded slowly, eyes dropping for a second before lifting again. Me too. That was all he said. But it was enough. The space between us felt smaller now. Not because we'd moved, but because neither of us was pretending anymore. Rick looked at me like he was about to say something else. Something more. I could see it in the way his focus stayed locked on mine, like he was deciding whether to cross a line he couldn't take back. For a second I thought he'd close the distance, say something real, stop holding back. He didn't. He exhaled softly instead, stepping back just enough to break whatever the moment was turning into. Forget it, he muttered. And just like that, it slipped away again. But this time it didn't feel like rejection. It felt like hesitation. Like he was standing right at the edge of something he wasn't ready to fall into yet. And somehow that made it harder to ignore than anything before. The last day of school didn't feel real. Everyone kept talking about the future like it was something exciting. New places, new people, new lives waiting just outside the gate. There was noise everywhere. Laughter, photos, promises to stay in touch that everyone already knew wouldn't quite hold. I stood in the middle of it, watching everything move, but all I could think about was what was about to end. Rick found me before I had to look for him. He always did. Everyone's leaving already, he said, standing next to me like it was just another day. I nodded. Yeah. Neither of us said anything for a moment. We'd been like this for weeks, close but not defined, talking around the one thing that mattered most. There wasn't time left for that anymore. You're really going? He asked. Yeah. I didn't ask him the same question. I already knew the answer didn't matter. Another pause. Then he exhaled quietly, looking down before meeting my eyes again. I've been thinking about that night. My chest tightened. Of course he had. I told myself it was nothing, he continued, that I just got caught up in the moment. He shook his head once, like he didn't believe that anymore. But it wasn't. There it was. No hesitation this time. No pulling back. I didn't interrupt, didn't rush him. I just let him say it. I don't know what I am, he admitted. I'm not gonna pretend I have that figured out. His voice wasn't uncertain, just honest. But I know one thing. He stepped a little closer, not rushed, not forced, just a choice. I don't want to walk away from you and act like this didn't matter. Something in my chest finally settled. Not because everything was clear, but because he wasn't running anymore. I looked at him, really looked this time, without holding anything back. You don't have to figure it all out right now, I said. You just have to stop pretending it didn't happen. He let out a small breath, almost like relief. Yeah, he said. I think I'm done pretending. For a second we just stood there. No pressure, no expectations, just the truth, finally said out loud. Around us people were leaving, calling out goodbyes, stepping into whatever came next. And for once, I didn't feel like I was losing something. Rick's hand brushed lightly against mine. Not by accident. Not this time. I didn't pull away. Neither did he. And as everything around us started to fade into something new, we stayed right there. Not finished. Just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this love story, don't forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel, a donation always means a lot. See you soon.
आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार का। आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार का। मुस्कुरा के बात करती हो, आदतें खराब करती हो। ना दिखो बेताब लगता हूँ, आशिक बेहिसाब लगता हूँ। ऐसा नशा है तेरे दीदार का, आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार का। जिंदगी हसीन लगती है जब ये जालिम प्यार होता है। सांसों में सांस आती है जब तेरा दीदार होता है। नखरा है ऐसा मेरी सरकार का, आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार का। नखरा नखरा इसका टॉप पर, आती है टिकटॉक पर, नैनो से है नैन मिलाती, लड़कों के है दिल जुलाती, पिंडी में है चर्चा इसका, मीरा जितना खर्चा इसका। मैंने बोला इसको मेट्रो में बिठाऊंगा, कैपिटल ले जाऊंगा, F7 भी घुमाऊंगा, मोनाल भी दिखाऊंगा, सेंटोरस भी ले जाऊंगा। आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार का। मौसमों की बेकरारी को आजमा के जान जाओगी, हिज्र की आजमाइश में एक दिन पहचान जाओगी। कहना है मेरे दिल बेकरार का, आशिक हूँ तेरा राजा बाजार का, लगता है मुझको नशा ये प्यार।